Okay, hello, this is Bob Jackson. I'm the K-12 Educational Liaison with the PRISM project here at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology. I'm coming to you today to do a little informational video on a quiz question type. This fall I've been doing several different informational videos on Moodle applications, from just dealing with general pedagogy, online pedagogy, and how to author your own course, to doing some mastery exercises, then into the different quiz question types. And that's what I'm doing this video on. Okay, if you haven't seen any of the videos, I'll show you first how you can find these. If you go to the Rose-Hulman PRISM website, roseprism.org, and you don't even really have to sign in to see this. On the block over on the right hand side of the page, you have help and extras. If you click on video and tutorials, you will see each of the different informational videos that I have created and put available to teachers. Okay, you just simply click on them and you'll go to them. Okay, with these are all that I've produced. I would like to see some from teachers. If some of you are doing some good things with Moodle and have some better ideas even than mine, please submit them to me, give me the URLs, and we can put them on our website so we can share the good things that you're doing with Moodle. Okay, so let's go back to my course, my chemistry course. Okay, now then, the question type that I'm going to show you how to do today is a simple calculated question. Now on Moodle there is simple calculated, there's calculated, and then there's a calculated matching. Okay, I'm just going to do the simple calculated, and I think it's the only one that I want to do because I think for the most part it is the one that teachers are using. It's called simple calculated for a reason. It's a little bit less complex to set it up than the others, and most teachers don't spend the time to setting up the other types. But if there are ones out there that want to learn some of the other types, we can do one of them at some point. Okay, so here I am. I'm on my chemistry course. I'm going to come down to a quiz activity to add this. Okay, now I click on the quiz activity and I can go into adding questions to it. Now then, you can also go on your course to add questions or create questions by going to the question bank. If you have the boost theme set up and your menus look like this, you'll come up here to the gear icon here, click on more, and then you can get to your question banks here, to where you go into your quiz category, select a category you want to create questions in. Okay, and then you can go to adding questions. Okay, now then, if you don't have the boost theme, you will find the question bank in a menu on the left hand side of your page over here in an administration block. Okay, it'll say quiz questions, or it might say question bank on some of yours. Okay, but you click on it, then you'd get into here. Now the way I'm doing this one is I'm going to my course and I'm adding my questions right to the quiz activity that I created, which is probably what most people will do. You'll create a quiz activity, and it can be either a test or whatever level of assessment you're doing. You click on it. Okay, now then, since I've worked with this one repeatedly, it's saying preview quiz now. If it's the very first time you open up the quiz activity, it's going to give you an add questions right here. But since I've already worked with this one previously, I go over here to this edit icon, this gear icon here, and I go to edit quiz, not edit settings, but edit quiz. Okay, then that gets me into my question bank behind that quiz. Alright, and these are the previous questions I have put into this. Okay, then you see these add buttons over here. You can add this question in wherever you want to here. I'm going down here to the bottom one. You could click any of these. Okay, so I click on it, I'm going to add new question, and then what I said I'm going to do is simple calculate. You will see that there are calculated and there's calculated multiple choice. Okay, basically you're doing the same things in them, it's just they're a little more complex. The calculated is not too bad, but I like using the simple calculated because of the way you can view your problems and review that your formulas have worked correctly on the problems before you have your students taking them. And you'll see it when I show you. So I'm going simple calculated and I go add. Okay, now then you see your editing screen here. Okay, now then the first thing on your editing screen that you want to do, you want to make sure that you're in the category of questions that you want to add this question, particularly if you've went into the question bank rather than if you're on the quiz activity, it's going to take you to default for it. Okay, that you've got questions in that course. Okay, so I'm on what I want, but you always want to make sure that you're in the category that you want of your questions here, so you keep your questions organized into the categories, particularly if you have more than one course on Moodle. Okay, like if you're teaching chemistry and biology and whatever else you're teaching. Question name, I always just go something like this, 1.5. This does not show up to students. It doesn't number the questions or anything other than in your category. It is a way you can use this. So you could even put in here like the name of the unit. Okay, like stoichiometry or atomic structure, question 1. You could do things like that. It'd be your way of organizing your questions in your question bank. Okay, your question's going to go here, and I'm just going to copy and paste some questions from an old test. What I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you how to do the simple calculated. So I paste this here. Okay, you'll see I've got what is the volume of aluminum in a sample if it has a mass of, you see the curly brackets and a G, grams, then aluminum has a density of 2.7 grams per centimeter cubed. Okay, now then this is a typical problem that you'd give chemistry students. What I've done with the curly Q brackets here and this G here, I'm making a wild card. Okay, my wild card is for the variable mass. Okay, so now then what this means, if I put this in here like this, if I put a variable into the problem like this, and we call it a wild card on the question type, on calculated questions, because what it'll do is generate a different number and put it in for that variable for every attempt on the problem. Okay, now it's going to be up to you to get the problem set up correctly, that you put the correct range of numbers in for that. Okay, you got to be very aware of those settings and realize the problems that you're doing, what range of numbers will work, and that's where your math teachers, your science teachers, physics teachers all know. I mean, you have to put a good deal of thought into the problems as you're doing them, because you can't just open it up to any numbers, because just any numbers won't work. Okay, you got to put in proper range. Okay, now then, you can have more than one variable. Okay, you could have two. You could put both of these in this density value over here as a variable also. You just got to realize that makes it a little more complicated for you, and realizing you're going to have a range of numbers for each one. Okay, I typically with just general chemistry put in just one variable. Okay, so now then, that's my question. I'm going to spice this up a little bit by the fact I always like to throw pictures into mine, so I'm just grabbing a picture and putting in. Okay, now then, you can also add the picture through clicking on editing an image here, and you can bring one in. Okay, by clicking on browse repositories. Now if you copy and paste one in like I did, and you see the size is too big or small, you can also do what I just did there, or just double click on it, and here you can adjust the size. Okay, I don't think that size is too bad. Okay, and I have that image in there. I always like to put in some images for my students, so I'm showing some aluminum to them in this. Okay, now then you come down through this. Now you can give general feedback here. This would be feedback that they'd get after they completed their attempt, and if you've done deferred feedback, they will not get until all students have completed your quiz activity. Okay, it's up to you if you want to put something in there. Just for the sake of this, I'm not going to. Okay, but you can say great job. You can put some emojis in there and give them smiley faces and what have you. Okay, ID numbers. Some teachers are using this is to put identifying numbers on their questions for in their question banks. So when they get very large question banks, they have a means of organizing. I'm not going to use that. Okay, now then, this is the most important part between this and your range of numbers, is you got to put in the correct formula. Okay, and you have to use correct math formulas to put in these. Okay, now I've got a pretty simple problem here that I'm doing because it's just a division problem. So what I do, okay, I'm going to put the formula in. Now don't put equals. Equals is here. Okay, you're just going to basically put the formula. So now then, on this, my problem was, okay, it's a density problem. What is the volume of aluminum, okay, in a sample if it has a mass of so many grams, and aluminum has a density of 2.7 grams per centimeter cubed. Okay, now then, I realize my formula for density is equal to mass divided by volume. So volume would be equal to mass divided by density. Okay, so when I put that in here, I'm going to go my curly brackets and my G, which that's where I'm saying my variable. Now it's very important that this variable right here is the very same one that you have here. Otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, this variable must be the same as what you have in your formula. Then I'm going divided by 2.70. Now I don't put the units on there, okay, because it won't do the math then. Okay, now then, this is going to give the student 100% grade, okay, if they do this math, okay, and they'll get it, they'll get it right. Okay, that's going to be the 100% grade. Okay, now then you can go a tolerance range. Okay, I'm going to go 0.05, and I'm going to keep it on. I'm going to put it on nominal. Okay, relatives where you're going to take it times the number that you put in there, and then divide it by the whole value, and it'll give you a bigger range. It's like doing a percentage. Okay, I use nominal, so that means, all right, if the answer comes out, and I'm just making them up because I'm not working the math in my head. If the answer comes up 2.0, okay, then it'll accept 1.95 to 2.005 as being correct answers. And outside that range, then it's going to be wrong. Okay, so you have to realize nominal is the simplest one. Relative, if some of you did a little bit more complex math and you want to open that range up a little bit more, you may want to use it. Okay, but I'm thinking most probably use nominal. Okay, now then you can come here. I'm going to give 2 decimal places I want on the answer. Okay, you can also use significant figures. You physics teachers, even chemistry teachers, and some other science teachers, and maybe in the math classes on some problems, you could use significant figures. Okay, and it's a pretty good one to use. Okay, and then you can give feedback here. You can give the emoji picker here to give them smiley face, so forth, to get the right answer. Okay, it's up to you to put whatever in there. Okay, now then, unit handling. Okay, you got some choices here. Units are not used at all. Okay, if you got teaching like an integrated chem phys class, you could, the most important thing, you just want them to get it to answer. I'm always one that I like units. Okay, units are optional, so if they put them there, it's not going to grade them wrong. Okay, on the first case, you wouldn't want them putting units in at all. Tell them just give the numbers. Okay, then the last choice down here, the unit must be given. That's one I like to put in. Okay, unit penalty. This is where you're going to put in what they're going to get marked wrong on it for like if they leave the unit off, or losing a half point, or they losing a whole point, okay, on it. Okay, now then, it is up to you, okay, to decide that. And that's up here, like up here at the default points, and I guess I went by that. If I'm doing problems, I make it worth 5 points. Okay, so down here I could take a point off for, okay, now then, you can take it as a fraction, okay, to the question grade. So I'm taking off a percent, okay, here, and that's up to you to put it in. I always like unit penalties. Okay, units are input using, okay, text, okay, which I think most use. You can do multiple choice, where they'll get a drop down type menu given to them there. Well, here's the drop down menu. Multiple choice is where they'll select their where you like you toggle them. Okay, click on them. Okay, and then a drop down menu is where there will be a drop down menu of units that they can choose from. Okay, but I think most use this. Okay, and then units go, you need to the units need to be in the proper place. So most of them know in science and math, they're going to go on the right hand side, except if you're working with money, it's going to be on the left hand side. Okay, so if you're doing some money type problems, you may select this one. Okay, so it doesn't grade them wrong on them. Alright, so those are some halfway important. And then your units. Okay, down here is where you're putting your units in, you're accepting on your answer. On this, and it's going to be centimeters cubed. And I'm putting a multiplier of 1. Okay, now then on this one, I'm not going to put any others, just because I'm giving them this problem. There's not going to be anything else. Since the answer is going to be in centimeters cubed, they're not going to be converting to liters or any other units or square or cubic meters in this problem. So there wouldn't be any reason that I'd have any other units that they'd come up with. But let's say if you had an answer in liters, okay, and has a multiplier of 1, you could also accept an answer in milliliters, but it would be a multiplier of 1,000. Okay, so it is like if your answer come out 1.5 liters here, okay, is a correct answer, but if the student answered 1,500 milliliters, they would get it right also. Okay, so it can be important for you to put in the correct units here, and if there's multiple units, then it's okay. And a lot of times, like meters and centimeters, okay, and millimeters, you could accept either one of them if they're doing conversions or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to put my centimeters cubed here. I'm going to do away with this. I just wanted to show you the options. Okay, and then you come down, and this is where we get on the most important parts of setting up your ranges and so forth. Okay, on multiple try, I guess I won't skip across that. Multiple tries, if you give multiple attempts, you can change this. This is taking them down 33% with each attempt. You can change that to what you want, like you can take it down 10% or 20% or 25%. Okay, if you give multiple attempts on your quiz. With each attempt, they lose that much, whatever you put in there. I'll put it back at 33.33. Okay, and you can give hints if you want to on the math to do or whatever in these boxes here with each failed attempt that students do. Okay, now let's go to the you need to click on find the wildcards. Okay, and that's where it's going through the through your problem, and it's finding the wildcard in your problem. So now you can set up your ranges. Okay, now then, that's where you go to wildcard parameters used to generate the values. Okay, Now then, that's where you are going to put in appropriate numbers here, okay, to use. Okay, now you got to realize you're dealing with masses, okay, on this particular problem. Okay, so I'm going to put in here from 5.0 grams to, I'm going to say 25. Okay. Now, and I know that those numbers will work pretty well for the problem that I'm working with. Okay, I could have a bigger range than that, but I definitely I couldn't put it from 0 because I can't use 0. Okay, and in numbers below 1, since this is a metal, wouldn't work very good either. Okay, numbers much below 5 weren't too appropriate. Okay, so now then, decimal places that you put into it, realize if I give 5 to 25 and I don't put any decimal places on it, that really shortens my range of numbers that can be used on the problem. Okay, so to open that range up, you go out your decimal place. I'm going to go to 2 decimal places. That'll give you a huge number of numbers that can be used to put in for my wildcard. Okay, whereas if I just went 5 to 25 and didn't put any decimal places, I'd just have 20 numbers. Okay, and I want a bigger range of numbers than that. Okay, so that each and every attempt generates different numbers for students. Okay, now then I'm going to generate down here my wildcards and put them into my problems. I typically select a number a little bigger than the number of students I've got taking it. Okay, so I'm going to select 40 here, and I always select the same number here. Okay, so here I'm going to generate my wildcards, and then I'm going to display them. And this is the part I like about the simple calculated problems, is the way it will display and even show answers. Okay, down here at wildcard values. So now it shows my complete set of 40 answers, and I can see whether those, if you want to check them with your own math, your own calculator, then you can check them. And it doesn't do this on calculated. Okay, and that's it. I'm through the process of setting up this problem. It's ready to roll. Okay, as long as I look at those and see that they're correct, then I go save changes. Okay, now I'm going out to where the problem is, and here it is. Okay, and if I want to view it and see how it is to students, I go there's the problem. Now then, each and every attempt, there's going to be a different number put in here. Okay, whether it's the same student doing multiple attempts or whether it's a different student sitting side by side in a class, they will get different mass numbers put in here. It'd be very rare for a student, if you got a wide enough range of numbers put in, for them to get the same number. Okay, that's it. That's a wrap for this one. Please, if you have questions or any other type of feedback, please let me know. Hopefully this helps. And again, I ask you to, if you have your own desire to create your own videos and submit to me and give me the URLs, we'll share them with other teachers. Have a good week at school, and thank you.